Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister, all is well with me. Happy Resurrection Sunday to you.
Absolutely. Happy Resurrection Sunday to all of you out there in the Hey Sister family. I sent an email out this morning just kind of remarking on Easter Sundays growing up, right? Because this was always one of my favorite times growing up in South Louisiana. Easter is not just the day. Resurrection Sunday is the day, but it's a full weekend of festivities. Good Friday is synonymous with crawfish boils. There's a Holy Thursday service. Like, it is a full on events of activities and fun and family. And so, but it's all rooted in our faith. And so today we wish all of you a day filled with faith, family, and fun, fellowship, although that we are still in this global pandemic and we're not able to gather as we would like. This too shall pass. And that's also what our faith is about. So if you out there celebrating, let us know how you celebrating down in the comments section. Let us know how you celebrating.
Well, I will say, being here at home, I have seen my share of there were still some crawfish boils and some gatherings and what have you. Albeit we know we are still in a very serious health pandemic, I do believe that a lot of people want to still enjoy some of those things that they have become accustomed to, some of those traditions that they've become accustomed to. And while I definitely know we all want to be able to say, slow down, don't move so fast, my hope is, and I myself, I'll admit, I was out at an event yesterday helping one of my friends' daughters, and my hope is that generally more people have gotten vaccinated, and so that's why maybe they feel like they have an opportunity to get out a little bit. But I will say, at the same time, I certainly was praying a prayer for safety and covering. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say this. My vaccine partner's tuning in. Hey, Jody. Hey, sister.
Hey, Miss Jody.
Right here. I got it in right there. So now I can say I can count myself among those fully vaccinated. Chandra says, went to church parking lot, enjoyed dinner with family, just came back from a reflective walk. God is good. He most certainly is good. So wherever you're tuning in from, we want you to always, and we say, hey, like, follow, share, subscribe, start a watch party on your page. Let folks know that you're tuning in with Hey Sister tonight, and definitely get involved in the conversation with the comments. Since this is the first Sunday of the month, it is Resurrection Sunday, but we started a tradition here that the first Sunday is just us, right? No guests, just us, for an evening of hot topics. And so we're going to get into some hot topics tonight. We want y'all to get into this conversation. And so some of you are probably saying, yes, happy Easter, Cam, happy Easter, happy Resurrection Sunday, Roz. Some of you are probably asking, so why are they going early tonight? Had to make a judgment call because we know y'all getting y'all leisure suits ready and your attire, probably chilling you a bottle right now because tonight is the Verzuz. Verzuz continue. So out of the pandemic, one of the great things was this concept of a Verzuz music battle. Swiss Beats, Timbaland, those were the two brain behind this, and it has continued on. And so tonight there's a Verzuz battle between the Isley brothers and Earth, Wind, and Fire. The Elements, another one for the culture. Now I hope this one gives us Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle vibes, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Listen, I am going to say some things that are going to be wholly unpopular at this particular moment.
Okay, y'all clutch your pearls now.
Clutch your pearls. Um, we had the wonderful opportunity of seeing the Elements in concert. I believe, was that the same weekend that we saw Prince at the Essence Festival?
I can't. Did we see them that weekend? I've seen them a few times, so.
Okay. Well, I know at one point I saw him at the Essence Festival. And what I tell you, similar to the the children of Egypt as they did a mass exodus.
Oh yeah, that was that year, huh?
It was the Superdome cleared out. And it was unfortunate because we know how great the Elements are. We know the music that they provided. But what it seemed to me, and this is just in my unscientific opinion, is that they're more they have great popular, hits that people know, but they have a very large library that a lot of people, unless you are a fan, don't know. And that's the thing that happens with Verzuz as well. If you're a super fan of a particular artist, then you deep in the crates with that artist. But if you're just like a casual fan, you're probably going to go or lean towards the group that has more popular songs that you can think of. And the thing about the Isley brothers is that they have, I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire, I know, have been sampled as well, but the Isley brothers have been so sampled over the years that even if like some people didn't know when Aaliyah did At Your Best that it was a cover. Well, they've had so much.
I think they covered it first. If I go back and do the research, I'm gonna have to go back and dig a little deep.
And that very well may be true. But I'm just saying that at the end of the day, I don't know if we attract diehard fans, it'll be great. But I think that if it's just the casual fans, they'll probably lean towards the Isley brothers.
Okay, all right. Well, Cam, we're gonna come to your comment in a little bit. Rosalind said the Elements were great when I saw them at New Orleans Jazz Fest. So I will say this.
Oops, sorry.
Here's the thing about Verzuz. They're not necessarily performing live.
That's another
thing. The range and the plethora of music that's available to them is wide and varied. I will say that I know many people, it depends on what age group you're in, but many people don't even know, Twist and Shout was the Isley Brothers song. Like the Isley Brothers go back to the 50s. So their catalog is deep. Many of the Isley Brothers' greatest hits are covers as well, but in a Luther fashion, the songs that they covered, they made them uniquely theirs. So people think that they're the originator of it.
Right.
I don't know. We shall see. I know Steve Harvey's hosting. Like, we on a whole nother level with Verzuz right now.
Yeah, I mean, when we have
hosting, D-Nice is spinning the records. I just don't know what, I'm sure I'm looking for leisure suits, fur coats, gaiters, and I just can smell. I don't know what era we gonna be in. We're gonna be in Mr. Big era. We gonna be what era we coming in with the Isleys? I don't know.
I'm gonna trust that, considering Robert Kelly's current station, we may want to be mindful of the Mr. Big era.
We shall see. I don't know, folks. Just tell us in the comments. Who do you have in tonight's Verzuz battle?
We see who Rosalind is with.
Rosalind says she's with the Elements, but more importantly, team culture. I'm for the culture. I think this could be a cultural inflection point. I hope so. Yes, Miss Jody. Yes.
Jody, the way I'm reading that, I feel like that's Steve hosting.
Let us know if we read that right or wrong, Miss Jody. It's going to be an interesting night tonight. So So speaking of, Cam asked us in the comments, did we watch the Mahalia Jackson movie last night? So we must confess, we did not.
But we have good reason.
Well, I had my second vaccine yesterday, and so afternoon, and so once I, grabbed dinner with my vaccine buddies, and then came home, I went to bed because, of course, I took my immunity booster, the little ginger, turmeric, all of that, drank the whole bunch of water, and I was like, Tylenol, let me shut it down because I want to make sure that I don't have any after effects, and I will say that I have not had any after effects other than a sore arm. So I missed it last night. I didn't wake up till probably right around 10:30, and then I was able to catch the end of the basketball game.
Yeah.
So that was my excuse. But Mahalia is on my list, and I have it pulled up on my iPad so I can get into it, and I can bring you some commentary on it later. Because I know Danielle Brooks, just from the few clips I saw, brought the house down with her singing. So I don't know. What about you?
Same. Yesterday I ended up working a lot harder and longer than I anticipated. So once I came home and showered, ate, I was out for the count. So I missed it. I thought that it was premiering on April 8th. Apparently I heard wrong. So I will take a look at it, Cameron.
You thought it was premiering on a Thursday night, sister?
Yes, because you can premiere on any night, actually. And then what we have learned in the time of COVID, people want something for those days of the week in which they are working from home and they need a reprieve. So I will definitely check it out, and we will have that as a hot topic for next week.
Yes, so stay tuned, Cam. We're coming back to you. So Jody said you read it correctly. Chandra has Isaac Brothers. Jackie has the Elements. Denise has the Isaac Brothers. We shall see. I hope, again, please no late arrivals. Please no technical difficulties. I think we've kind of moved beyond that. And probably at this point, because all of them met the phase 1 criteria for vaccination, they probably all fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I really do hope that there is live instrumentation, because if that, and I know D Nice is going to be there, but if we have some live instrumentation, if we have some, singing, some actual live performing, I think that will just be great. But like Rosalind said, it's great for the culture, and I hope parents do use this as an opportunity to expose their children, especially these young babies who, unfortunately, Lord, if you ain't got the right kind of mom and daddy, you've been exposed to some foolery in the last few years. I mean, I know I like to take it back to the 99 and the 2000, but I grew up in a household where we listened to some real music as well. Some of these babies don't have no exposure, so I'm hoping this is an opportunity to teach the next generation. Amen.
And that's a really good point. We're going to transition into the next generation when we talk about this basketball game. But that is such a very, very good point, because I like origin stories. So you heard, I like Brown Eyed Girl. Isaac Brothers didn't do it first, but they made it their own. Summer Breeze, they didn't do that first either. That was Clarence, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And so all I'm going to say is know the origin, know the roots, because then when you hear it sampled later, you're like, oh, I know where that comes from. I'm just saying. But speaking of this next generation, March Madness, Gonzaga is on the verge of making history. So they made it through last night. Again, I started watching at 10:30. That's all when I needed to watch, because the game ended up tied and going into overtime. UCLA and Gonzaga did the doggone thing last night, and UCLA fell short in the end, really at the buzzer. It was truly a March Madness ending. The young man, he's a true freshman. I got to look his name up. I think it's Scruggs, something like that.
Yeah, let me look it up real quick.
Man, it was remarkable. And all I can say is from what I saw, at least the next generation of basketball looks like it could be in good hands. It was a phenomenal ending to a phenomenal game. So yes, for the 99 and the 2000. That's where we at. We still there.
I'm still
there. And so if you watched the game last night, let us know what your thoughts are. But as I said, Gonzaga's on the verge of making history, and actually they are in the championship game, which will be played tomorrow night. And if they do win, they will have had a perfect season, which I don't think has been done in many, many years. So, because they hadn't had an overtime game in the Final Four, I think, since 1998. So it was just like incredible. Last night was just like an incredible feat.
Yeah, and the young man's name is Jalen Suggs.
Suggs, yes. So, yeah. I know you saw that last play, sister, and I know you had some comments about play to the end.
Yeah, I mean that's the message. I think a lot of times, especially when I watch collegiate sports, well, not even collegiate, professional sports as well, I see very lax. I'm like, what happened to defensive stance? What happened to going for your rebounds, even if offensive rebounds?
What happened to following your shot?
Following your shot. I get that. Free throws can be nerve-wracking, but when you get to a certain level, I kind of expect that you're going to make a free throw, things of that nature. So I did see that those final few seconds of the game in replay, obviously, but amazing and great job. And I guess it says not only play to the end, but in many of our recent Sunday school lessons, we've been talking about, what is sort of preordained versus what is free will for us. And I just have to believe that there is a bigger plan for Gonzaga. I know some people may be like, this guy don't have an interest in sports, but I do believe God has interest in using people's lives for respect, for testimony. So there is something bigger at play here. So I just say congratulations to those young men of Gonzaga. And how about congratulations to the Southern University Jaguars for defeating the Jackson State Tigers? I just have to throw that in there because when it comes to collegiate sports, we just have to say that, right? Okay, just thought I'd throw that in.
Listen, I ain't got no dog. I ain't got a cat in that fight. Because it's the Jaguars versus the Tigers, I ain't got a cat in that fight. All I know is that there's a lot of hilarity going on the interwebs. And it's classic swag action.
Classic swag. And I just have to say, it is really, for me at least, I can't speak about other people because obviously I have way too many friends, relatives, loved ones who attended Jackson State University. But for me, this year particularly, it's about that Deion Sanders. I'm going to have to ride y'all because I've been telling y'all since he got there, while I appreciate what he brings in terms of his name and his presence, I haven't liked some of his behaviors up until this point. I really felt like, he hasn't learned the culture. He does not understand how, yes, we rag on each other. Now, nobody else can rag on us, but we will rag on each other. And he's slipped and fallen and hit his little head or something. But all good. We see you prime time.
All right. Well, I hear someone over here lurking. I'm sure they will be lurking in the comments soon. I'm going to leave that there. There's a really good post-game video from the Southern coach, really talking about raising men and how having a long established good program. So they're grateful, but Southern's always had a good football program, is what he said. So, but I'm gonna just let that lurker over there get in the comments, and I'm not gonna say nothing. And you have Jessica Kennedy Vickers saying she, I don't know what millions. How many zeros is that? Let's see. That looks like 10 million.
10,000,000% agree. But she was about to exit the conversation.
She was about to exit the comments, because she was feeling some kind of way. But it's all to the good. Look, Douglas Robinson just has a little I ain't mad at you, Doug. I saw them bills. I'm just gonna leave it right there. So, all right, we're gonna switch over to a hot topic that's probably gonna be a little more somber. And again, you're tuning in to Hey Sister. Join us in the comments, like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But we could not have a week without addressing the Derek Chauvin trial, which May 25th, 2020. So we're coming up to a year anniversary of that tragic day in which we bore witness to the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and the trial of the police officer convicted for that murder, even though I'll have to go do my due diligence. I haven't done the due diligence yet because I have to see, are there other charges? Are there other trials to come for at least negligence on the part of the other officers who stood?
Yeah, they have all three of them are going to be on trial together.
Okay, so I'm not sure when that trial date starts, but I have not watched it all. I read the stories the next day. I watch some of the news clips from the trial. I cannot and will not traumatize myself. I tried to avoid watching the video last year as much as possible, but sometimes it comes on TV and you before you have looked away, right? The trauma, the repeated trauma, the trauma of that 9-year-old baby who witnessed that with their cousin who was videotaping, who was 17 at the time and who is now an 18-year-old. The trauma for the 19-year-old store clerk. The trauma for the 60-whatever-year-old man who knows the pain, that pain. Because we know the certain pain if you are a Black man in this country of a certain age of your interactions with police. The EMT, the first responder, the firefighter who just wanted to render aid. His girlfriend who talked about their struggle with opioids because of back pain, chronic pain, and having that opioid addiction. This trial has it's heart-wrenching. It's sad. It's maddening. It's frustrating. And although he has a mask on his face, I still see that smug arrogance in Derek Chauvin's eyes. And that infuriates me even more. And that's another reason why, just from the clips I've seen, I can't sit and watch it. Because if I sit and watch it, what is it doing to my spirit? So I don't know, sister. What say you? And we have some comments too.
Yeah. So first, I want to agree with what Denise said. Not convicted. You said convicted. He hasn't been convicted. He is
on trial. He's on trial.
He's on trial. And the sad thing about it is, all of us sit with bated breath because we know a conviction may never come. So like you, I've tried to consume enough to stay abreast of what's going on, because I feel like I owe that much to Brother George Floyd, to ensure that I watch to see how the media covers it and how the media portrays him, because he is not on trial. Derek Chauvin is on trial, and I'm going to call him Derek Chauvin because I am convinced that he is probably related to people from Louisiana, and that's how we pronounce that specific last name. So I feel the need to stay abreast to a certain degree. But to everybody's point in the comments as well as yours, we are forced to consume trauma on a regular basis. We are re-traumatized on a regular basis. And for some people, this was their, I guess, seemingly first opportunity at seeing real injustice and inequity in this country. And no matter how many times we say we live through this every day, from microaggressions to just blatant racism, there are still those who can't comprehend it or choose not to comprehend it because they don't have to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very proud of all of the witnesses that we've seen thus far, especially the brother Donald Williams. Want to say his name and shout him out.
Yeah.
Because you had me watch the piece where he let the defense attorney know, you're not gonna paint me as an angry black man. And that was so important because here's the thing. If he were angry in that moment, it was warranted.
Mm-hmm.
He was bearing witness to a person's life being snuffed out.
Mm-hmm.
And he could do absolutely nothing about it because he could have also found himself
right
dead in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he did a very good job. But the fact that the defense even attempted to make him out to be angry, as if being angry isn't a natural reaction to watching someone die, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. They tried to do the same thing with Genevieve, and Genevieve was like,
yeah, the firefighter Genevieve, they tried to do the same thing with her. And the fact of the matter is, there were a range of emotions that I assumed that those people felt, and all of those emotions were warranted. But what bothers me, and so this morning, I'm catching up on Snowfall, by the way. And this morning I watched an episode of Snowfall, and the character Scully, he says, why do you need to do an autopsy? You see the bullet holes, and slightly different. But it's kind of one of those things where he's like, she was murdered. You see the bullet holes. It's kind of the same principle for me. It's like, why do we even have to pay taxpayers dollars and go through this? I know we're all entitled to due process, but there are so many things that we're entitled to that as Black people, we don't get in this country. So it's like we are wasting a lot of time, energy, and resources when all of us bore witness to the same thing. So what are we going to actually, what can a defense say? Oh, he died because he had drugs in his system. Oh, he was going to die that day anyway. Well, the last I checked, nobody knows the day or the time. So if that would have been the case, you should have let that play out. But to see Mr. George Floyd be put in the back of a police car, then to be pulled out of that car with a gun pointed at him. So it's like he was in a no-win situation. And that tells me that there is a level of evil
depravity.
And depravity.
We talked about the reprobate mind in Sunday school, right? There was a reprobate, because not only was he in the car and then you handcuffed, but you pulled him out the car. You put on your gloves to pull him out the car. So what? You was not trying to leave fingerprints behind or something? Like, what were you doing? Like, why
you weren't going to leave fingerprints since you thought it was applicable? You thought it was okay to put your knee on somebody,
right? Why, but I'm just saying. But why did you have to have on these black leather gloves? You were going for an altercation. You were preparing for a altercation, and then to lie and say, "Oh well, he was a sizable guy." What?
He was a sizable guy,
but you were a sizable guy too, with a gun and a taser,
right?
And it
but
was 5 of
you. Again, we have seen repeatedly in this country where sizable black men lose their lives. Unsizable or non-sizable white guys with AK-47s, AR-15s, all weapons of mass destruction, when they've already killed multiple people, don't even get treated like that. So that's why, there's a part of me that feels like we all saw it and we all saw the same thing. And yet we still have to be concerned that even having watched it all and having seen the protests that were sparked and having heard all of these witnesses, white and black, come to the witness stand and say the same thing, we still run the risk of Derek Chauvin not being fully punished to the furthest extent of the law.
Yeah, well, here's some comments here. When I heard he had his knee on his neck for more than 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Yeah, that just on day one, that actually it was 9 minutes and it was like 9 minutes and 20 seconds, 29 seconds, whatever it was. I mean, 10 minutes is a lifetime, not watching all the time, but keeping up. I'm not on board with the lady prosecutor. The day I saw her questioning the fire chief, I don't know which prosecutor was asking which questions, but I do know that defense attorney was about to rake my last nerve over here. But I just, everybody has a right to a defense. When I heard folks had to call the police on the police, how crazy is that? Absolutely insane that they were literally there calling 911 on 911, right?
Well, yeah, the 911 dispatcher said
911 dispatcher was like,
this is not right. Yeah, something is not right. And she called for the sergeant, I believe she said, and it was because she was like, that was somebody
watching it unfold on the tape, and she was like, "Oh,
right."
Oh yes, it has been interesting to see the police testify against him. And hey, he was in handcuffs. What can he do in handcuffs? Hey, we know people in handcuffs, people running away. We've seen any manner. We've seen a child with the toy gun, right?
Yeah.
He killed.
And at the end of the day, I think what I really want anyone who, folks don't want to be called racist, but we don't really know what else to call you if you're still making excuses for Derek Chauvin. So all I can say is, if it is not something that you yourself would die over, then it shouldn't be something that we should die over. I have never heard of a white person dying over a $20 bill, that whether it was fake or not. I've never heard a white child die because the police saw him with a toy gun and his life was snuffed out at 12 years old. I have never heard of a white man going to Walmart, a store that sells guns, to look at a gun and be killed in the process of shopping for a gun.
Yeah.
So if it's not something that you all would get killed for, then it's not something we should be killed for. And if you don't want to be considered racist, then you can't keep making excuses for bad, evil, depraved behavior.
Period. Well, let's talk about some bad, depraved behavior.
More.
The other height of foolery.
White male privilege. Did you say Mattie?
Congressman Mattie Gaetz of Florida. He represents the Panhandle area of Florida. He is under investigation. This investigation began, and again, if you've never done the Florida man trick, y'all, I'm giving y'all some things. Just go into the Google machine. It don't have to be Google. It could be Microsoft Edge. It could be DuckDuckGo. What is it? DuckDuckGo. Whatever search engine you want. Just type in Florida man and your birthday and see what foolery comes up. Just do that real fast and tell us in the comments what foolery comes up. But once again, here we go. Florida man who happens to be a congressman. And it's so weird, Someone reposted when Cedric Richmond had to read him his rights last year in that committee. And that famous line, "Was that a nerve?" This guy who, basically comes from a father who was in politics, who also was a businessman, who had money, who really ain't had to work hard for much or nothing in his life, is elected because of who his father is, much like many people, and it has no substance, who is a performance artist, but he has the position of being a U.S. congressman, and it's so pathetic. So if you haven't heard the story, he is being in part of an FBI investigation where he was not the target, but a subject. So he decided to go on and clarify that. And I'm as a subject, because the target is really who's the former Seminole County tax collector, Joel Greenberg, who is his friend, who also, here in Florida, who also came from a wealthy father who built like a dental empire here. Basically, Joel Greenberg was arrested for, or had to resign, still being fully investigated. And that's why Matt is a subject of that investigation for child trafficking, probably going to be some pornography charges, but basically paying underage women for sex and travel.
That's the gentleman there, not Gaetz. That's what the gentleman in.
That's what his charges are. But again, Matt is a subject of the same charges.
Right.
He's a subject in the same investigation.
Right.
So it's like Jeffrey Epstein was the target, but all the rest of y'all are subjects because this is what he's been charged with.
Yeah, I just wanted us to be clear. So Matt has been accused of
Matt has been accused of sending Cash App and Apple Pay. They got the receipts. They've already shown the receipts. The Cash App and Apple Pay to girls for sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, underage is the part. I mean, I think that you're not supposed to do that for sex in general, but I think, one could make an argument that, that was for something else, but it's obviously the underage part. But so Matt, I don't really care about. I don't like him. He's very smug, very arrogant, and I didn't like him after Cedric had to hit him with "Was that a nerve?" when he trying to holler about his son and how much he loved his son. But your son is like the same age as you, because he ain't your son. And let's be clear about that. And it seemed like that was even an inappropriate relationship about how you got this young man to be your quote unquote son.
From Cuba.
That was already questionable. So now you're being hit with this, and we know Matt has been a surrogate of Donald Trump. He has often been very ugly and just disgusting in a lot of the congressional hearings, and has obviously played the party politics, as many of them have, because he's definitely a Trump Republican. But can we get into how he was trying to pull Tucker Carlson into his stuff? And Tucker was like, "Wait up now, buddy. That ain't hold on now, buddy. You ain't about to throw me up in this water."
Somebody else about to be a subject. Because he had so I dropped a couple articles in there for y'all to read about the investigation, and you can see the link between Joel Greenberg and Matt Gaetz and what have you. But yes, that interview. So that was the thing. That was the day the news broke. So it was breaking news. The article was being published, and he decides. Because what does he do? He's a performance artist. As I said, he ain't serious about writing no legislation and no bills and getting nothing passed. That ain't what they about. He wants to be on TV, right? Because that's where the money resides.
Yeah.
So this dude goes on Tucker Carlson's show, and like I'm talking to Christina here and say, "Don't you remember that young man that we went to dinner with?" You know, and and Tucker did a what's my girl name? What's our girl? Kiki Palmer. He did a. I do not know this man. I do not know this one. I don't know what you're talking about. Who said what? And he was like, and then he was like, well, that was weird because, you know, I don't recall any of those things. Right. Because he's trying to implicate you.
Yeah, not only that. So what else I've seen here on the Twitter that Matt went on to say, you know, you were accused of something that you didn't do. And so you know what this feels like. And Tucker was like, yeah, you just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And he was like, and of course it was not true. I'd never met the person. And then that's when he went into the, well, actually, you and I went to dinner with this young lady and your wife. And then he was like, no, don't know what you're talking about there, Matt. So that's, you know, again, every move that he made looks like you're guilty because, again, the story had just dropped. You jumped to Tucker Carlson. Then you tried to pull.
Then you try to pull him. He one of those people, like I tell people all the time, I'm using this analogy. When somebody's down in the ditch, you can either reach down and try to help him out the ditch, because that's what Tucker was doing. He was being a lifeline. But Tucker felt that arm get tugged, like, oh no, you trying to pull me in that ditch with you. Oh no, boo-boo, I'm about to let that hand go. I got to let you go. Yeah. I bet he won't be on Tucker's show no more.
Well, he will probably, but it won't be for a while. And so everything, just like your whole movement, you moving like a guilty person. Okay, the story had just dropped. You should have probably let somebody else like ask you a question first before you go on the defensive.
Well, you know, his communications director has resigned as a result of this. So,
well, it ain't the communications director's fault. It's your fault. You're the one who sat up there trying to pull Tucker into the conversation, and Tucker was like, "Whoa, now, Sally, hold on. You're not about to put me in that water, as we say. You ain't about to throw me in that water." But then also, because again, to your point, you're not the target of the investigation, which, by the way, was started under the Trump administration under the previous AG Barr. Like, you were just a subject. You weren't the target. Like, you were ancillary, but now you done made yourself a primary suspect. So congratulations.
Congratulations. Continue to talk and allow your audacity and caucasity lead with that, because you are going to talk yourself into a conviction. Because I guarantee you this. See, here's the thing about how these people work and how they operate. So Joel Greenberg over there, you know, Joel Greenberg really, he did not resign until it just became too hot for him to not resign. Right. He because I'm here in Orange County, Florida. Seminole County is just the county over from me. So I remember, as this was all, even when he ran for office, there was all of this talk around his name and about who he was, the type of person he was. So I already knew that he was basically pretty much, you know, white boy privilege, trash, basically. Because I don't have no other descriptors. You know, really, I'm out of clever descriptors. So what I believe is happening, and so now he's coming up as a subject. I believe that Joel Greenberg is on the side now, like, okay, I'm gonna lessen the case against me, because I have to serve somebody up.
Right.
I think he done served up his boy, Matt. And if you don't know that's how they people ways, then.
Such a covfefe. I tell you, such a covfefe.
Such a covfefe. As you are tuning in to Hey Sister, we are live with Hey Sister. We came to you all early tonight because we want to be in place and ready for the Verzuz battle against the Isley brothers and the elements, earth, wind, and fire. And tonight is the first night of the month, and we just do an evening of hot topics. So on a lighter note, let's switch over to some lighter hot topics. So the internet was abuzz with the Lady Whistledown's announcement that one Regé-Jean Page will not be returning in season 2 of Bridgerton. I don't know how y'all missed this. Like, I didn't even know why this was a story, because it is a series of books. There are 8 books, one focus on each child. The first book, The Duke and I, was focused on Daphne and
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton.
Yes.
Daphne Bridgerton.
Yes.
Marries the Duke. That's what the first book was based on. The second book is based on Anthony and him trying to find love and step into his role as the leader in the family. And it goes on and on. So if you read any story about the books or what the series.
1 second, my father is coming in the room.
Oh, well, hello, Father.
Hello,
As you put your hand in front of our
right in front of the camera.
Wow.
Gotta love it.
Hey, Daddy. So the Duke is gone. He's not dead, but the Duke is gone. He won't be back. And we would have to read the books to see if he reappears in any of the books at a later date and time. However, I do know, and what I know about TV is that if those ratings drop, the Duke will return. How about that? Sister, what say you?
I think you summed that up pretty well. I too, obviously have never read the books, but knew enough about the series to know that they were a series of books, and we had already talked about that. So, I'm not actually surprised at all. And all right, I mean, and I like the Duke and all with his eyebrow that goes up higher than the other one, and he fine as cat hair,
like
but.
Like this?
Yes. But I mean, I'll be okay if I want to keep watching it. I'll live another day if the Duke is not there. I mean, but to your point, the Duke will appear. He'll be another character. It'd be like on American Crime. Every year on American Crime, the same people play different characters. So the Duke will be somebody.
Listen. If those ratings drop, the Duke will be back in the next one.
Yeah, because him and Anthony are friends anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, they friends. He married the sister, honey. Listen. So we got some more comment here. Joel is singing though. We know he's saying he probably did that lemon and honey so he could get them vocal cords right. So he could, in the words of Usher, if I'm gonna tell it, then I gotta tell it all. Gotta tell it all. Joe Lindy's laughing at the hand. Rosalind, tell Daddy Rosalind said hi.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Even from the dead, but he wasn't dead. He ain't dead. But if he was dead and the ratings drop, it'll just be like Luke and Laura on General Hospital, or Bo and Hope on Days of Our Lives, or Nikki and Victor on Young and
Grey's Anatomy. The ladies and everybody that came back on Grey's Anatomy.
Child, listen. When the ratings drop, we got to do what we got to do. Exactly. So speaking of, again, something a little bit on the lighter side, you want to talk about this, the Rip April.
The reason I wanted to talk about it is because, I have a Twitter account, and every now and again I get on the Twitter, and Friday when we were driving back from the airport, I saw R.I.P. April. So of course I'm like, well, what April passed away? And then April without a last name. They were talking about April the giraffe. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I do not want to seem insensitive or act as if I am not moved by the story of April the giraffe. So apparently in 2017, April the giraffe came to internet fame and had a large fan base as cameras were placed in her habitat as she gave birth. But the comments flowing in, if you just do the hashtag RIP April on Twitter, the comments that were flowing in, you would have thought that April was a bona fide human being. I mean, just like she was such an exceptional mother. You got me through tough times. I appreciate how much, how, I was pregnant at the same time you were pregnant. I was like,
it's the giraffe. The giraffe.
But the funniest one for me was a Twitter user was like, man, before I looked up what RIP April was, I thought we had canceled a whole ass month. I thought that was hilarious because that was the second thought. If it wasn't April, a person who we were saying RIP to, then like, well, we getting rid of the whole month because the second was Friday was just the second. So I was like, we canceled already. The month of April is gone. April the giraffe. So amen and rest on little April. That's all I can say. Rest on April the giraffe.
Because she was such a good mother.
Just please hashtag RIP April on Twitter. I promise you, you got me through a hard time. I'm not trying to dog April. And dog is probably not the right word, but I feel for everybody who felt that. But I also had to agree with one of the Twitter users, like, thank you, April, for trend. Well, how did she put something to the effect of people acting like they care about you trendily? I was shocked. I mean, it's beautiful, but I guess, hey, if Harambe can be written in as the potential president of the United States, then I guess we can mourn the loss of April the giraffe as a fabulous mother.
Well,
and by the way, she had arthritis, and so it was becoming challenging for her to walk, so she had to be euthanized, in case you didn't hear the story.
Ooh. Child, we probably should have brought her to some crowd therapy. I know Jolinda out there. We probably should have brought her to some crowd therapy to work on them little knees and stuff. But listen, arthritis ain't nothing nice. Ain't nothing nice. Nobody wants the arthritis. So listen. Now, evening of Hot Topics, you are tuned into Hey Sister. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Make sure you're subscribing to us on both platforms, on Facebook as well as YouTube. We're still working on finalizing our website. We will be launching that also with our Hey Sister merchandise. So stay tuned. So we have more great things coming your way, but we want to continue to grow the Hey Sister family here. So like, follow, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell your mom and them, your cousin them to get into the Hey Sister. So the last couple hot topics we have tonight, we're going to end on a lighter note, but we had a couple more heavy times. It's been heavy. Like, come on, it's April 4th and it's been heavy. So we had another attack on the Capitol, and I think it's an epitome of a mental health situation. Unlike the insurrection, this was seriously someone who has mental health issues. But, I guess we can say that anyone who gets sucked into conspiracy also has some mental health issues. Our mental health is so very precarious. It's such a fine line from sanity to insanity. I mean, it can be impacted by your hormones. It can be impacted by trauma. Like we talked about the Derek Chauvin trial. All those people are still dealing with the mental health implications of watching someone die and be murdered before their eyes. So there was an attack on the Capitol this week, another loss of a Capitol police officer when a young man rammed his car into him, jumped out with a knife. and thinking that the government was trying to track his moves, get inside his head. And it's just like, what's happening with our mental health? Is it because we're so consumed in these devices and media, or what are we missing? What is happening with our mental health, sister? I don't know. What say you?
Well, first of all, again, to the family of the Capitol Police officer who lost his life, we offer our sincere condolences. No one should have to lose their life, particularly in doing their job, right? I was surprised to both hear that this was a young Black man, and by young being 25 years old. Um,
But can I pause you there, right there?
mhm,
Actually, 25, in your 20s, that is the age, especially for schizophrenia, to really show up, is in the
mhm.
20s. And so I'm dropping the news articles in there. They said he suffered from delusions and probably some hallucinations. And so in the 20s, it's a very precarious age. And it is the age when between like 20 and 25, when especially schizophrenia shows up.
Well, yes, and you also have talked about before that, the frontal cortex doesn't fully develop until at least 25 years old. So there was so much. I think it saddens me that whatever this young man was dealing with, he obviously hadn't received help that was much needed. I don't know if others in his life ignored signs, but I can't believe that he just woke up one morning and decided to do this. It looks like he was originally from West Virginia, lived in the Virginia area. But yeah, I don't believe you just wake up, especially seeing what we've seen in recent years and months in terms of how dangerous it is for Black men just to exist. I don't think you just do that and no other signs of a break have been evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of the things that I myself was very concerned about was that, in this sadly in this country, in our the way we consume media and the way we frame different individuals, there was conversation about the fact that this young man had started listening to Louis Farrakhan, and that he had made a donation over $1,000 to the Nation of Islam. And one of the things that I didn't want to happen is for people to allow that to conveniently frame the fact that he was perhaps a follower or beginning to follow the Nation of Islam, to use that as an excuse to continue to deride Farrakhan as this evil, awful man, because it's always interesting how we can attribute certain characteristics of being hateful and evil and racist to certain people, but we have so much harder of a time to do that for others who have shown us repeated behavior as well. So that's the one thing that I did not want to happen. But as far as this is concerned, again, it is always so hard to be just a Black man in America. So to think that a young man was dealing with something so bad that he decided that this was the response, and we obviously know, again, we don't make it out of day-to-day traffic stops sometime alive. So we knew you would never have made it out of this alive. So I don't know what was going through that young man's mind, but I would hope that if there are any other people in our lives who are showing us any signs of having a mental break, that if we can help them, we definitely do.
Yeah, well, I saw Denise dropped it in a comment, so I don't know if she was listening into our pre-show, but she talks about DMX as well. And so we learned over this weekend that the rapper DMX has again had a suffering from an overdose, and it's in grave condition. I guess it's not looking good. And so I'm dropping some links into some articles there. But it is, again, it's an example of mental health. He has struggled with drug abuse over the years. He talked about his first introduction to drugs as a kid, and someone lacing a marijuana blunt with crack, and how that started his addiction at like 13.
14, yeah.
13, 14 years of age. And so it has been a lifelong struggle. And, to be 50 years old and still in the grips of that addiction, it's very sad knowing that you have family, you have children, people who love you, but you can't seemingly love yourself, right? Can't seemingly get to that acceptance of the impact that you made. And one of the versus battles, since we started this off talking about verses, one of the versus battles we enjoyed the most was DMX and Snoop. And so I just want to say to his family, prayers, really that God's will is done in this situation, and that the healing that needs to take place can take place. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments. So when I was in college, I was a big DMX fan. Obviously, to your point, we saw the verses with him and Snoop Dogg, and we bore witness to Black Boy Joy, as we talked about. And I was so excited because I thought, X-Man is back. Like, we're gonna get some more DMX hits. And he's struggled quite a lot over the years, and we've all bore witness to it. And I think this it's a twofold thing for me. Number one, it's why we can't throw people away, because yeah, they are quote unquote celebrities, but they're imperfect human beings who many times are dealing with things that we don't even know. I mean, obviously, what inspired him to be such a great rapper, like many others who are musically inclined, what created that greatness, a lot of it comes out of pain, and so it saddens me that he is still in that place and still fighting those battles. Similarly, though, uh, mental health is is a real thing, and he has had, very often people. In his case, he talks about how he was first introduced to drugs, but many times the continuation of drug abuse is a form of self medication. People are always chasing that original high. They want to feel good. And there's so much that we're surrounded by that doesn't make us feel good. But I really, really pray that in this time, whether he transitions over to the other side, or if God decides that his assignment here on earth is not yet over, I pray that he finds peace and that he recognizes just how much he's loved, because Earl Simmons needs to know that he is loved, and like you said, and it starts from within. And I know one of the things that we reiterated in our Boys and Girls Club conversation that I know we're going to talk about now is that he is the prize. So I hope that brother realizes that that he is loved before he is before he leaves this earth. So
right. Yeah, because we're all going to leave this earth at some point in time. Like, we don't know the hour, we don't know the date, but to know that you are loved and the personification of love is important. So this will be the last thing we will talk about, because the versus battle has begun. DMX is spinning records now. Got it pulled up here.
DMX is not spinning records.
DMX, Lord, D Nice, D Nice. D Nice did a tribute to DMX the other day.
Okay.
Oh, he's just spinning jams right now. He got a little Luther on right now.
Okay.
I
Good.
mean, we done stepped it up a bit, you know. Now that they done sold to Triller, they done stepped it up a bit, honey. It's all gonna be really high production value. But I want to talk about our visit to the Boys and Girls Club. Our last part of Hot Topics, we had the privilege of visiting with the Boys and Girls Club here in Central Florida. We closed out their Women's History Month, and we talked to I guess about maybe, what is it, 15 or so, maybe a little more than, 15 or so of the young girls were there. And so these girls were in 5th grade to 12th grade. That was the age range. And we had some very honest conversations, some very frank conversations. But one of our key messages is my main takeaway I wanted them to know, and I had them affirm it, say it loud, say it proud, is I am the prize. And I would encourage all of us to pour back into some young ladies and pour back into our young children, males and females, and let them know that they are the prize. It's, like you said, these mental health issues, dealing with the way we communicate, all this digital, not being connected with people. Our relationships are very different. We need to be affirmed in so many ways. So knowing that that self-love is the best love, and learning to do that. The earlier we can learn to do that, the earlier we can teach our others to do that, I think we can all be in a better place of healing. And so that listen, and those little girls, they asked some good questions too now. But it was a great time.
Yes, I will just add one thing to that, which is you said it, pour into some young men and women. When you are put, first of all, shout out again to Miss Tasha, who was on our show here 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And she talked about how she got into working with the Boys and Girls Club, and she's been there for 23 years, and just saying how, it was basically, she had a great upbringing, and she feels like every child should be entitled to a great upbringing. But pouring into a child, one of the things that came out of that experience, and she alluded to it as she prepped us, but it was something that I took away from it, it wasn't just about pouring into them. It was about them pouring into us as well. Because I know that I spoke on things and said things that I had never said before to anyone. And so it gave me an opportunity to be honest and transparent and vulnerable in front of these young ladies, and also made me realize that no matter where we are in our lives, as I told them, I'm now 43 years old, and I am still working on that whole I am the prize piece myself. So it's nothing to be ashamed of, and I'm not. It is the reality of things. We all have so much that we're dealing with, and it's easy to experience various attacks on your esteem, if you will. But at the end of the day, I would say pour into these young people, because you will find that the reward, mm-hmm. You pray that at least one is touched by it and it makes a difference in their lives, but the reward is probably really for you, so that you can have your own, truth and transparency moments, and start your own healing process. Because again, back to that whole mental health thing, we can't be anything for anybody that we can't be for ourselves. And so until we actually spend the time, invest the energy in taking care of ourselves, we can't really be the best version of ourselves for anybody else. So pour into somebody else, because you will probably find that it will be even more of a blessing to you.
All right. Well, that was beautifully said. And so we thank you all for tuning in tonight to Hey Sister. We will be back with you on next Sunday at our regularly scheduled time. We might do a special episode after this Verzuz. We'll see how it goes, and we have to do a breakdown. But she talked about pouring into folks. I want to invite you all to my annual Spring into Leadership Women's Conference. It's coming up. If you want to invest in yourself and get filled up from a personal and professional standpoint, Then check out springintoleadership.com and join us April 29th to May 1st. And with that, we are signing off. Good night, everybody.